to share with you a recipe that's over 100 years old, but it's still delicious and decadent. And that is the Cherries Jubilee. And this recipe was actually created by a famous French chef, and it was created specifically for Queen Victoria's Jubilee. I'm not sure whether it was created for her Golden Jubilee or Diamond Jubilee. I've read both, but regardless, it was in celebration of her either 50 years of reign or 60 years of reign. Regardless, the dessert was made, and it has still maintained popularity even after all these years. But there's a lot of different recipes for the Cherries Jubilee. I came across a recipe that I thought would work best and offer a lot of flavor, and that was a recipe that I found on a YouTube channel which was made for the Madison Hotel. However, that recipe used a lot of sugar, and this is a sugar-free alternative, but you are definitely not compromising in flavor at all. It's very easy to prepare. You're doing everything in one frying pan, and you're making this dessert and serving it hot over ice cream. Cherries themselves have a lot of nutritional value, and they are high in antioxidants, they are an anti-inflammatory, they're high in fiber. There's 90 calories in about a cup of cherries. They are also high in vitamin C and potassium. So the main things that I have read or found that cherries are most helpful for are things having to do with sleep, for joints and muscles. So it has said that one of the main things that cherries are great for is gout, and that's because there is something in the cherry that actually helps the body remove uric acid, which is what creates the inflammation, which gives you gout. They're also said to have melatonin, so having cherry juice on a daily basis may help you sleep. The cherries are also said to be used in restoration of muscles. So there are some studies that were done. Cherry juice was given to athletes 5 days before a marathon, 5 days after, and it really helped in ease the muscle pain. So there's a lot of great things about cherries. The highest concentration of these nutritional benefits that I've just told you about are really related to the tart cherries. The other types of cherries have the same benefits, but not to the same degree. But today we're just making it because it's super delicious. So this is what we're going to need to make our recipe. For this recipe, we're going to need a tablespoon of butter, a third of a cup of sugar, and I'm using a sugar alternative, monk fruit sugar, half a cup of tart unsweetened cherry juice, an orange, a lemon, 2 cups of fresh cherries, some thickener. I'm using xanthan gum, but you can use cornstarch, a pinch of nutmeg, a pinch of cinnamon, and of course some cherry liqueur, and I'm using my homemade cherry liqueur, which is low in sugar. So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is wash our cherries and pit them. So I've got these beautiful cherries that I bought. They're just fantastic. And I'm just going to take them over to the sink and wash them, and I'll be right back. So you want to wash your cherries, and we're just going to spray it with our DIY veggie wash, which is very effective. And these are one of the bulk foods that many hands have handled. So you want to make sure that you get all that pesticide and germs off it. We're just going to let it sit for 5 minutes and then rinse. So it's been 5 minutes, and now we're just going to rinse with cold water. So now that our cherries are all washed, you're just going to want to, and you may have something to pit cherries, but I just use my candy apple stick. It works really well. And so the way that I pit the cherry, remove the stem. I've got a stick which is for candy apples. Whoops. And you make a little hole where the stem came out, and you, in the opposite side, you make another little hole, and then I take the thick part of my candy apple stick, and I'm just gonna push, hold on to the cherry, and push that pit out the other side. And that gives me a really perfectly shaped cherry, whole cherry. Let me do that one more time. So you've got your cherry. Open up that little hole where the stem was. Make a little hole on the opposite side where the pit is going to come out. Insert the thicker part of the candy apple stick. Hold on to the cherry. Push. And there goes the pit. And you're left with a nice whole cherry. Fantastic. So we're here at the stove. We're just going to turn it on medium and heat up our pan. Into the pan, we're going to add our tablespoon of butter. And we're going to let that melt. Into this, we're going to zest one whole orange. And my orange is washed. So we're going to zest it. And you can zest it with a zester like this, or you can just zest it with a regular zester. And we're also going to use the juice of this whole orange. Orange zest is also said to be good for helping with cholesterol, high cholesterol. And then we're going to zest one whole lemon. So there's a lot of citrus flavor, which is going to be great. I can see all those essential oils oozing out as I am zesting the lemon. And we're just going to melt the butter and let that saute with the zest of the lemon and the lime. In the meantime, I'm going to juice my lemon and lime. This is a really nice juicy orange. So we should get probably maybe half a cup of juice between the two. That's about half a cup of juice. This is actually, this is a strainer for a sink that I bought from the dollar store, but it works really well when I'm juicing lemon and limes because it just sits nicely on a cup. So now we want to keep this stirring around. And to this, we are now going to add our sugar all at once. And I'm using sugar alternative, which is the monk fruit sugar. But you can certainly use any kind of sugar that you have. And basically, we just want to dissolve the sugar in the butter. So we'll just let that dissolve. Wow, it smells great already. Once that sugar is dissolved, we're going to add our orange and our lemon juice. And we just want to let that cook down just for a few minutes. At this point, I would add just a tiny bit of cinnamon, maybe not even an eighth of a teaspoon, just a pinch of cinnamon, and just a pinch of nutmeg. Very nice. Keep that low. You just want to cook that for a few minutes to reduce it. And next, we're going to be adding our cherry juice. Now, at this point, if you're going to be using another thickener, if you're going to be using arrowroot, you would use 1 tablespoon of arrowroot or 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And the cornstarch, you want to add it to the cold liquid. Mix it in, make sure it's dissolved before adding it to this solution. But because I'm going to be using the xanthan gum, I'm going to be adding the cherry juice, and I will add the xanthan gum directly to the pan, stirring very quickly. And we're only going to be using 1/4 teaspoon. And xanthan gum, it takes a little bit to dissolve, so you want to just really very quickly and very lightly scatter it on your solution and mix, mix, mix until it's fully incorporated. So the solution is getting a little bit of consistency, and at this point we're going to add our cherry juice. If you had the cornstarch, it would already be in here. So now we add our cherry juice. Point is when I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. And xanthan gum, I'm using it because it's very low in carbohydrates, so I'm keeping this recipe as sugar-free as I possibly can. The sugar that naturally occurs in the cherries will, they actually have a low glycemic index, so there is some sugar, however, it is very low, which means this would definitely be diabetic friendly. So scatter your xanthan gum very lightly over your entire solution and mix, mix, mix. There's a little tiny bit of the xanthan gum that doesn't resolve. I just mix it into the sauce. So still over medium heat, we're just going to bring this up. And all I want to do is I just want to see that the solution is thickening slightly before adding my cherries. So you can see the solution is, it's still pretty watery, but it's starting to thicken slightly. It does thicken a little bit more once we take this off the stove. So if you ever want to thicken a solution with cornstarch, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch will thicken 1 cup of liquid to the consistency of gravy. So that's just a good way to judge how much cornstarch to use. So now my solution is, it's slightly thickened, and at this point I'm going to add my cherries. And this recipe was really, it serves 2 based on the Madison Hotel, but really you could make this for 4. So now we're just going to continue heating it up, and we just want to cook down these cherries just a little bit to soften them up and thicken our solution a little tiny bit more, so a couple more minutes. It smells wonderful. So I'm just going to clean up while that's cooking. Uh-oh, cherry splatters. You got to get them off while they're wet before they set. Look at how fabulous it's looking. Just another minute. These cherries were extra large. They're very large, so they're taking a little bit extra, another minute or so to kind of cook through. And you don't want to break them down until they're disintegrated. You want to be able to see the cherries whole, but you want to just soften them enough so that they have all those flavors are imparted and they're just soft enough to drape over your ice cream. And you also want to do this in a frying pan because you need a wider surface so that there's greater evaporation and you get this nice thick consistency. I don't think it would work quite as well if you tried making this in a pot. So that looks nice. And now for the finale, you need to use a little bit of cherry brandy, but I am using my homemade cherry liqueur, which is low in sugar, and you just want about an ounce. I'm not going to flambe it because I'm not a professional chef, and I'd like to keep my eyebrows intact. So I am just going to add my ounce of cherry liqueur at the end, and then you just want to cook it for 10 seconds or so, 20 seconds, and really you're just burning off the alcohol, but you're retaining all that excellent flavor from the cherry liqueur. Wowza. Okay, I think we're ready to serve. I'm going to turn this off and we're going to go over to the other side and grab our ice cream. So we have our Cherries Jubilee, and I wish you could smell it. It smells fantastic. We're going to serve it over ice cream. And this is my homemade ice cream in a jar, which I made, which is diabetic friendly. So again, we're just keeping things without the sugar. Of course, you can use whatever your favorite ice cream is. And like I said, this is from the Madison Hotel. The recipe is for 2, but you can definitely, as you can see, there is more than enough to make for 4. We don't want to overdo it with the ice cream because the star are the cherries. Oh my goodness. There's definitely enough for 4 servings here. And I'm going to serve it with a little bit of cherry liqueur. So let's taste it. It is so very, very delicious. If you are a fan of cherries, you're gonna absolutely love it. Wow. This is decadence twofold. Totally appropriate if you want to wear your tiara while eating this dessert or a crown. This is one of the nicest desserts that I've made. The presentation is fabulous and the taste is out of this world. So cheers to Queen Victoria. Thank you for Cherries Jubilee. And if you make this and you like it, I hope you share it. Enjoy!